Recording.
Call to order the December 16th regular scheduled board meeting, Fairfield County School District Board of Trustees. Welcome all those and thank the staff of Peter Elementary for providing space and accommodations for the meeting. Ms. Brown, there is an appropriate public notification?
Yes.
And the confirmation report looks like also present. Thank you. We'll entertain a motion to move to executive session.
Move, Madam Chair. Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second for executive session during which legal, contractual, and personnel matters will be heard. And I ask that the board members present bring the hard copy of the superintendent's evaluation form with them. All those in favor of moving to executive session signify by raising their right hand. Looks like we have 6 in favor.
Where is it?
Fall down and back out to the left. That's upstairs.
Oh, good to see you again.
Hello, how you doing?
Good time to talk, man.
Good.
executive session during which no action was taken.
Madam Chair, I move we exit executive session.
I second, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Fred. Mr. Miller, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And we'll move on. Welcome again to the December 16th, 2014 regular call board meeting. Again, we appreciate the eager staff for hosting us and getting their building and having folks visit us tonight. Thank you for being here.
If we all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, I believe flag field here and remain standing for a moment. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you.
We'll move on to public comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've received 4 public comments.
Oh, I'm sorry. The approval of the agenda. Thank you, Mr. Daniel. We need a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Pruitt.
I second, Madam.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. All those in favor of the motion and of the agenda as presented, signify by raising your right hand. 2, 3, 4, 7, Frank. Thank you. And we'll move on to public comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We do have 4 this evening. I remind the speakers, you do have a 5-minute time limit. I do have a stopwatch here. Madam Chair has the gavel. First up will be Mr. Elliott Hall.
Madam Chair, I have a question while he's approaching. Are we having the individuals speak based on the time that they fill the sheets out, or how we determine if we speak first? Just a question.
There's no time limit, so I don't know who filled them out first.
So that's the same order that you received?
This is how they were presented to you.
Thank you.
Board, employee, good evening.
Good evening.
I went to a district meeting at Coalition back in October, and we didn't have near this many employees. And I was told this meeting was about Andrea embarrassing her, and I want to know whether the employees getting paid overtime for coming here.
Madam Chair, that's out of order. Call the man. That's out of order. I'm moving on, but it's out of order. Can't call the man.
Sorry about that. It is very disrespectful for the community to come here and have this confusion. We elected District 1 representatives, and we expect them to do their job. We have board members that don't live in their district, and it's not a violation of policy rule. The last time I was at one of these meetings, we had a parent was trying to get some help for her child being bullied. She left out of the room crying, and we got applause from the district and clapped. And I have grandkids in the high school too, and I hear about things going on in the school, but it's never being brought to the board. And everybody said this is for the children. Is that for the children when don't bring it to the board? You don't never have no meeting about it? And I want to know how that helped the children. Thank you.
Next will be Ms. Jackie Workman.
To Chairman Reed, Vice Chair Jackson, and board members of Fairfield County, I come before you to express my grave concern regarding the posting on Facebook by a school board member The posting implies that the principals and teachers are failing our children. This disturbs me. The posting indicated a drum roll, dropped from excellent to at risk. Based on the very clear briefing presented by Superintendent Green in his posting position paper in response to the Facebook article, it is without a doubt the Facebook article is off base. According to the superintendent, the absolute rating has been average for the last 3 years versus below average for 2 previous years, 2010 and 2011, and 2006 through 2009. At risk, with the growth rating being at risk for 2006 and 2007 and 2008 average, 2009 and 2010 below average, 2011 excellent, 2012 good, 2013 excellent, and 2014 at risk. It is important to keep in mind that the growth rating does not mean there is no hope. It simply means that you have not exceeded your previous rating. For example, the previous rating was 85 and now it's 81. This is at risk. We, the citizens of Fairfield County, elected each board member to represent us in a professional capacity. Airing misleading information on Facebook is neither appropriate nor what the citizens expect. We expect our board members to fight for and support our children by working as a team board and by coming up with additional beneficial programs that will enhance our growth rate. Now, as the posting said, let's do a drum roll. Therefore, let's do a drum roll. First, we do not need Fairfield County school board members calling the school board a district dysfunctional. What we need are members who will do all of their power to strengthen the board and not members who create division.
This workman is a county employee.
Secondly,
Mr. McDonald, could you take care of this, please?
You're in the town of Ridgeway and you respect this community. You sit down.
Sir, we will make this meeting an orderly one, or we will have those folks removed.
Secondly, our superintendent, Dr. J.R. Green, is a builder of a new dome, working with the imagination and insight. He holds town hall meetings with local citizens, community leaders, and students. He strategically thinks of ways to enhance the academic growth of our children. For the last 3 years that Dr. Green has been in the county, his focus and energy has been on the well-being of the students and finding ways to motivate and make learning fascinating to them. He continues to communicate his vision and theme, excellence through teamwork, which has created a strong rallying call throughout Fairfield County. Third, our principals have transmitted their energy to the teachers, giving them a renewed sense of hope and confidence in achieving their goals and purpose and advancing Dr. Green's vision for the 2nd District. Fourth, our teachers know, value, care, love, and educate our students. They spend endless hours preparing and finding ways to motivate and advance the students. Finally, our parents
Chair.
and citizens are the greatest of them all.
Thank you, sir.
You are welcome. And after 5 o'clock, I'm on.
Thank you. Next will be Dr. Janet Mason.
Good evening, Ms. Reed, Dr. Green, and the rest of the board, and all my fellow citizens. You know, it takes me 5 minutes to say my name, but I'm going to do my best. I was at the call of the meeting last Thursday where the advanced ed assessment was given. And folks, I was very pleased to see these are well-educated people from many other school districts and the state who came out and gave an accurate assessment, very well done, of how our school district is doing. It made my heart sing. I've been an educator for 41 years, as many of you know, concluding with 14 years as a professor at the University of South Carolina, where I like when people ask me, what did you do there, Janet? I said, I didn't just make teachers, I made good teachers. And so to see my school district, the place where I was born, I'm not going to tell you how many years ago, and to make this kind of a progress, just it makes my heart bloom. Now, the other thing I really liked about that assessment, they talked to community people, they talked to students, teachers, and they were not restricted in any questions they asked. They were at liberty to ask any questions they wanted of anybody in this district. So that also made my heart flow. And Dr. Edwards, I want to congratulate you because it was good for somebody I consider an old friend who got such wonderful compliments on preparing for that important assessment. Now, perhaps some of you don't know this, but I think it's important. Since then, matter of fact, the very next day, Miss Willie, where are you, darling? She told me, she said that she's scared to raise her hand. She's afraid I'll call her. Huh? Oh, sorry, darling. I've learned from other people that other school districts have been here to examine us. Guess what they want to do? They want a copy. Now, folks, when you know you're doing well, it's when somebody wants to copy what you're doing. And that just made my heart sing. That's how good that assessment was. And I understand, especially regarding how well we're doing with technology. So, that was wonderful to hear. Now, a couple of other short things. I don't know if you all know this or not, but I happen to be in charge of the youth at my church. And on every fifth Sunday, 4 times a year, the youth is in charge of the program. They do the whole service from beginning to end. And the pastor said, well, Sister Mason, you go find somebody to speak. I have had 3 principals from here. Since I can't call names, I'll let y'all guess who they were. Have been there to speak. And I was thrilled tonight to tell them they did a better job than most preachers I know. The children paid attention, they didn't fiddle, and the nice thing they were able to do was collaborate and coordinate the academic side with the Christian side, or with the religious part of the program. And I just told one principal, who shall also go unnamed, that she's going to be next. Now, folks, that's reaching out to the community. When the church, the faith community combines with the school, that's when you start to get fabulous results. Because you're combining the essential elements, education and religion. And that's what this community is all about. So I'm here to tell you, we're on our way. The one last thing, I'm not going to be complimenting you all night, you know that. I want you all to do a little bit better job in supporting the arts. Please continue to visit, to finance, because as you have heard me say before, and you will hear it again if I live, the arts, the children involved in the arts do at least 10% better academically than those who are not. I will congratulate one school, the Magnet School. They have always done very well with the arts. The high school is doing quite well. But we need the board's support, and that means money, M-O-N-E-Y. Folks, you gotta support those arts in every way, and let the children in this community are not wealthy. The district is not that poor, but the children are. If we don't supply them with the arts, the parents don't have enough money to give them dance lessons and piano lessons. So please remember that when it comes your way. I want us to put as much love into the arts as we do athletics. Okay? Just make me a promise that you're going to put as much love and support into the arts as we do athletics. And that way, the arts will be a well, that's it. Goodbye.
Next is Thomas Armstrong.
Good evening, taxpayers, board members, chair. I come tonight to focus on a few points. My topic was moving forward, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank first of all, the board of trustees for the recent approval of the advanced ed certification. I think that it shows a lot to say for the board, first of all, and then to the administrators, the teachers, the parents, and on to the students. There was something that was very well done. I was part of one of the interview panels, and I was very impressed with the questions that was asked, the comments that was made. I almost had to look around and make sure I was still in Fairfield County. I remember the last time Sachs was here, it wasn't quite as pleasant, but it was extremely pleasant. They have a lot of things to say about Fairfield County and Fairfield County School District. It just shows that we're on a move to go forward. So congratulations to everybody, especially in Fairfield County. I also, in saying everything, for those who don't know me, I am a parent. I have kids in the Fairfield County School District. I'm a taxpayer of Fairfield County, as well as a business owner in Fairfield County. And while this is what I'm about to say is not intended to be personal, but I hope that it's taken serious. I believe, I might be wrong, but I believe we have a policy in the district that restricts teachers and paid staff from making certain comments in the public about our school district. I think that policy needs to be extended to board members as well. I know I work hard. I'm sure a lot of other parents, students, teachers, administrators have been working extremely hard these last 3 years to really bring us up to where we are. Now, when board members, board of trustees, elected, paid, or otherwise, choose to go on media and discredit the hard work of our people, I found them to be personally disappointed. If for some reason you don't like the way our district is going, when everyone else in the state is think that we're doing great, when you heard the testimony that other school districts come to Fairfield and try to model after Fairfield County Schools, for those board members who just don't think everything is going on as it is, and maybe you have the right to your opinion, but if you don't want to get in the program, then just step down. No one is tying your hands. If you don't want to be a part of this district that's moving forward, you have the opportunity to resign from your position so that we can move forward. Because if truth be told, there is no stopping what's going on here now. We're moving in a direction that's positive, and it's a reflection on the entire board. First of all, the board, because you all actually set policy and make a lot of decisions. So when we move forward, it's just not a compliment to Fairfield County, but it's a compliment to you all. So it's important that we do nothing to damage our reputation. We know that our reputation has always been at the top, but we're finally going forward. And I would ask all board members to please consider the county, the students, the teachers, and everyone else before you decide to go on Facebook and make comments that's not true. And if you don't understand, please ask somebody. I'm sure somebody in the district can help you understand the results of the report card. Thank you very much.
That will conclude public comment.
Thank you. We'll move to presentations and recognitions.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Board of Trustees, and Superintendent Green. Tonight, Ms. Whitfield, principal of Fairfield Magnet School, will recognize teachers from her school who had 90% of their students achieve MET or exemplary on the 2014 SC PASS test. Students earned MET or exemplary in the areas of writing, ELA, science, or social studies. And Dr. Smalls, along with Dr. Green, will come up and acknowledge the achievements of the teachers.
Good evening, everyone. It gives Dr. Smalls and I great pleasure to recognize this wonderful teacher. I have 4 of them here with me today. It was a total of 6, but 2 of them could not be here. Will Brooke Aberson come forward? Ms. Aberson had 96% of her students in writing and 98% in social studies to score MET or exemplary on PASS. Ms. Aberson is a 4th grade teacher.
Mrs. Tucker is a fifth grade teacher. She had 96% in writing, 97% in ELA, and 90% in social studies. Her students may be met and exemplary on pass. We have Mrs. Russell. Mrs. Russell had 100% of her fifth grade students making exemplary or met on pass in science. And Mrs. DeReef, who is a sixth grade teacher, had 93% in writing, 90% in ELA, and 91% in social studies to have met or exemplary. The teachers who are not here tonight is Tara Blanco, who is a fourth grade teacher, and Kelly Nellens, who is also a sixth grade teacher.
We just elected, recognized those.
I didn't hear the question.
I said, were they the only school that was, the only school that made that well as far as their students under the teachers?
And the response was that
And the response was no, we have other schools that had 90 or better percent. They just decided to recognize their teachers today.
We'll move on to the board chair's report. During executive session, we went through the evaluation instrument for the for the superintendent. On the instrument, there are 5 categories. I'm going to list those for you. There are 1, community engagement, 2, student achievement, 3, leadership, 4, learning environment, 5, fiscal management. The superintendent's contract states that an evaluation can be done at any time, so we chose to do it at this meeting since it was just after the advanced study review and the positives that came from that. So we appreciate those comments about that. I have 6 of the evaluation instruments returned, and the evaluation instruments, the evaluation on each of the components is positive, and so therefore we're going to move on to the next part on the agenda, which is to...
Madam Chair, all of them are not positive. And before you...
The majority are positive, so we'll move on to the next part on the agenda, the superintendent's contract.
Madam Chair, before you move to the superintendent's contract, I would just like to address, because you're not giving all of the information. And that's one of the things that I don't understand why we're not doing it in this district. And for board members, for people in the community to come up and say board members need to resign because board members are putting things on Facebook where we are giving a lot of false positives regarding our children in this district. Madam Chair, let me finish now. Let me finish. Because we're sitting here saying that our students have done so great, and we should not be giving false positives about everything, about giving the impression that everything is doing well when it's not.
All right, then you have to say, we'll move on to the second portion
let me say the
with the
rest.
superintendent's contract.
But see, this is what we do so we can't get the information out there. And the full board did not vote on that contract for tonight, Madam Chair.
Ms.
The
McDaniel,
full board did not vote on that contract for tonight.
the full board is going to vote on it after we receive a
But the full
motion.
board did not agree for it to be on the agenda for tonight, Madam Chair. And
Ms.
we really should
McDaniel,
be doing it in
the board,
January because that's when we normally do it.
The board chair and the superintendent set the agenda according to the policy manual. We will move on. Do I have a motion pertaining to the contract amendment?
Madam Chair, I have a motion regarding Dr. Green's contract. I would move we authorize you, the board chairperson, to execute amendment to Dr. Green's contract as follows. Paragraph 1, which is the term of the contract to be amended, is to extend the term of employment by 2 years through June 30th, 2021. In paragraph 10, the renewal of the contract shall be amended as to revise the dates of the automatic renewal clause to be consistent with the 2-year extension of the superintendent's contract. Paragraph 3 regarding compensation contract to be amended so as to reflect that the superintendent's compensation will increase 5% following the 4th year and every year thereafter upon a satisfactory evaluation, satisfactory progress towards achieving the goals agreed upon by the superintendent and board, and to revise the annuity contribution effective for the 2014-2015 year to reflect 8% and to increase by 2% annually as conditioned herein.
Thank you for the motion. Is there a second?
Second, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. In addition to the evaluation,
Can you
we
answer the
also,
question on the motion?
in addition to the evaluation instrument that was used, I also presented the obvious recent achievement that the district has received, as well as Dr. Green's achievement of obtaining his doctorate in the past year. So therefore, we would like to move forward with amending his contract as Mr. Frick has made the motion.
Madam Chair, are you going to ask for a question?
Go ahead.
Because I really need this audience to understand that, I need this audience to understand that the things that this district really gets graded on, the improvement that we're trying to imply that's there is not there. Now, I give 100% total accolades to everybody in this district who has done what they need to do for our children to excel. But in 2013, we had 7 students to pass AP scores. And in 2014, we didn't have any. If you look back at the accreditation that comes from the State Department of Education, the board have not received that document. If you go on the website for the State Department of Education, you will see that we got cited because we had a assistant principal at Keller Miller that was not certified. If you look at the report card scores, there was not a lot of inconsistency. Now, am I saying that we should not give something where things have occurred? No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we should not give false positives and make it appear that this district is doing such great things when it's really not.
All right, you made your point. Any other comments?
And what this board is asking to do for Mr. Green when the substantiated growth is not there is robbery to the districts in this district, and it's robbery to our bus drivers and our employees, where we only want to give them a $60 bonus. But yet we want to give all.
Is there any other discussion, Mrs. Daniels? You made your
And I want all
point.
my comments to go on the record, Madam Chair.
Is there other discussion?
Madam Chair, I just wanted to comment on why I wanted to make this motion and why I support it. Of course, I've only been on this school board for 2 years, but I've been a taxpayer in Fairfield County for a long time. And I am a Griffin, proud graduate of Fairfield Central High School class 1993. I have seen what has gone on with this board. I have seen what's going on with this district. And part of the reason why I chose to serve on this board and represent the people of District 6 is so we can get to the point where we are this evening. And I am by no means taking any credit for what has occurred. But I am very proud. And I would tell you 2 years ago, I didn't think I'd ever say that. I am proud to be a member of this school board, and I am proud of the projects we're doing, and I want to see it continue. As I sat on that stage last Wednesday and watched those results being read, I looked at the audience, and it struck to me what I'm doing on this board and why I'm serving, and why maybe I was not able to do other opportunities that I pursued earlier in this year. The emotion that came from members of the staff there were staff members who were weeping with joy. And I'm about to do so myself, and I apologize. I didn't think I would do that to him. But the progress and what it means to the citizens of Fairfield, and what I saw, the expressions I saw from the staff. We're in a very positive direction. Is everything 100% great? No, it's probably never going to be, but we're striving that way, we're making progress, and I hope we continue on that path, and that's why I ask for support of this motion. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Grab the mic, please.
I want to, first of all, thank Mr. Frick for his comment, and absolutely, everything may not be 100%, but that should certainly be what we are striving for. I simply want to say to the principals, to the teachers assistants, the bus drivers, the cafeteria workers, all of those who had an opportunity to get to know me and encounter me during my 4 years of service here on the board, absolutely know I full-heartedly support every member of the working members of this district. Unfortunately, sometimes we don't like to discuss things that aren't good. That's reality. It doesn't mean that they're not there. It doesn't mean that this board has not made strides. It certainly has. And in listening to Mr. Frick's comment, I think one of the differences is now the things, doesn't necessarily mean everything is right, but there are things that are wrong. They're just not being talked about. And to the employees of this district, I want to say for the record, of all the comments that were made, and I will inform the public, I am the board member who made the comment, and the comment was about my colleagues, the board. It was not about employees of the district. It was not about students. It in no way should have even affected the school district. It was passed along by an employee of the school district, not by myself, not by any other board member. So the majority of you probably would have never known the comment was there. But I felt the information needed to be known by parents because that's our job. Unfortunately, you know, this is the second time I believe Mr. Armstrong has asked me to resign my position, and he doesn't live in my district. But I respect his comment. But according to the rules and regulations of how I live and the oath that we take for this position, I will not stop telling the truth, and I will not stop coming against wrong and corruption. But I wanted to make it clear, specifically to the principals and the employees of this district, that I appreciate everything that you do for this district. And simply because it's not being brought to the full board, and the full board is not bringing it to the public, students talk, other employees who have left the district talk. So people in the community are aware of some of the things. People in the community are aware that some of the things that are being said are true.
Okay, let's return to the discussion at hand. The
discussion at hand is, we are making decisions based on false information. Thank you.
Any other comments?
But Madam Chair, you stopped her and you said that we're discussing the contract. But the
It's
fact
okay.
of the matter is,
Are there any other comments?
but the fact of the matter is, the statements that are being made pertain to the fact that we went into executive session and
Ms.
we went
McDaniel,
wait a minute, we went into executive session.
let's keep the discussion to the contract.
I am talking
Is
about.
there any other discussion about the
Madam Chair,
contract?
I am talking about the contract.
Ms.
And all
McDaniel,
the
you
information
exhausted your
that was
opportunity.
discussed about the contract.
You've had your opportunity. Is there any other discussion for the,
Madam Chair, this is not.
do you have comments, Ms. Harper?
Okay, Ms. McDaniel.
And her comments have been, they've been taken, they're for the record, and I think that opportunity has been exhausted. So we'll move on.
No, you chose to make it exhaustive, Madam Chair, because you're trying to run this
All those in-
on the podium, and that is not.
All those in favor of the amendment to the superintendent's contract, please signify by raising of the right hand. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 opposed. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Move on to the boardsmanship. For the board's information, we have reached out to the South Carolina School Board Association. It looks like that we're not confirmed, but there is an opportunity in January 24th is a possible date for a board retreat. So if you would put that on a calendar, just pencil it in tentatively. If it doesn't suit, please email me right away so that we can look for an alternate date. But right now, January 24th could possibly work for the School Boards Association to join us on our retreat. January, most of the day, like 9 to 1, something like that. January 24th. So we have reached out there, we're waiting on their reply.
We have an alternate date, January 24th is not a good date.
Okay, shoot me an alternate date then. I understand that you're busy until after the state convention, but there may be something in early February, I don't know. Just shoot me an alternate date, please. And the boardsmanship calendar is in there for Mr. Jackson as a new board member. The new board orientation is required within a year of being elected. There's an opportunity in February as well as June. I'm sure you know that. And the rest of us will be attending the state convention in February. Thanks. We'll move on to the superintendent's report.
Before you move on, can we go ahead and decide on the first Saturday in February?
Well, we'll have to check with the School Board Association. Right now, the January 24th was the date that suited them. So what's the first Saturday in February?
It's February the 7th. Is there nowhere
We'll
else?
check on that.
If they can't be here, is there nowhere else you can facilitate?
We'll check on that, and if not, we'll figure it out. Someone else.
But like I said, the only reason I'm asking for us to put the date down is because a lot of decisions get made by 4 board members and not by 3. So I'm just asking so we can put it on our calendar for tonight and we can set.
Well, we don't know if we can have someone to facilitate, Mr. Daniel, so it's kind of impossible to set it. We will pursue that date. That's I can tell you that.
We don't have.
I understand that. We will pursue that date.
Madam Chair.
If there are no other conflicts.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
All right. Looking at my date, and I know that date jumps out at me.
Okay.
I'm gonna be out of town.
All right.
February 7th.
Okay, well, y'all need to shoot a variety of dates, apparently, to see what suits, okay? So shoot me the dates into your calendars. Thank you. We'll move on to the superintendent's report.
Madam Chair, members of the board, first of all, I'd like to publicly offer my condolences to the Caldwell family. Many of you probably have heard that Mr. Luther Caldwell, who was a former employee in the district and also a former board member, has since passed. Her funeral will be tomorrow at 12 noon for those of you who are interested in attending. She will be funeralized at St. Barnabas, I think is how it's pronounced, in Jenkinsville. Very ironic, after the Hall of Fame, I got the opportunity on multiple occasions to go sit down and have some very extensive conversations with Ms. Caldwell, and I grew to very fond of her. She was a very, very sweet lady. And it was ironic, I spoke to her daughter-in-law today, and she asked me would I make some remarks at her funeral, and I said it would be my privilege. She said that Ms. Caldwell said that she and I had a whole lot in common. And you know, she probably was, actually she was born the same year as my grandmother. One day not think that we did, but we became experience. So I'd like to publicly offer my condolences to the Caldwell family.
What time do you do?
12 minutes. Also, I think most.
It's great that we extend courtesies appropriately to Ms. Howard.
Good. We're comparable to Mr. Johnson, yes, except that the proclamation will be read tomorrow.
Thank you. Now, is that proclamation from the superintendent or from the board, or from both?
The district, I don't know.
Thank you.
I want to just bring your attention to the connector. Once again, Ms. Wallace does an outstanding job putting together this newsletter does an outstanding job of highlighting the wonderful things going on here in Fairfield County. And let me reiterate we have some outstanding things going on, and it's a pleasure to be a part of such tremendous success. And that brings me to my first presentation, which is around report card data. And if I could put the PowerPoint file on.
Madam Chair, were we supposed to have a handout in our packet in board docs on the report card?
No, ma'am, it's not one thing.
Is there a reason we don't have one here?
I didn't have it.
Beg your pardon?
I didn't have it.
So we don't have any concrete documentation, all we have is the slide presentation. We have done it in advance.
Well, all I've done, Ms. McDaniels, is synthesize the data. I forwarded you the links to all of the report card data, I think several weeks ago. So you've had an opportunity to review all the data that I'm going to present.
Mr. Green, you did send the link, and that's part of what the problem was with the interpretation of the information. You did not send us any kind of information regarding where we had gains and where we had losses. All you sent us was a blank link. You didn't send us any information as to the interpretation of any of the data.
I'll be happy to forward you a copy of the PowerPoint at the conclusion.
Thank you, and in the future, if we can get that information in advance, that would be appreciated.
I'll do my best. Report card for 2014. And there's some information that you have as you enter the door. And just let me just start by saying, before I get to the absolute rating, you notice that I said that our absolute index, which is in essence your report card score, is the second highest that it's been since the accountability legislation was passed in 1998. Now, let me qualify that by saying that I researched all the way back to 1998, was unable to find 98, 99, and 2000 at the State Department. So these statements that I have made are relative to 2001 to now. And so we are extremely proud of where we are as a district and where we have come from. Let's talk about what the absolute rating is. You know, first of all, the absolute rating is the level of a school or district absolute performance on achievement measures for the current school year. This absolute rating is determined by a combination of pass scores, ASAP scores, inter-course assessments, and graduation rate. School districts receive ratings in the form of excellent, good, average, below average, and at risk. In essence, the absolute rating is your grade. Let's talk about a growth rating, because there's been a lot of conversation about what is growth rating. Growth rating is a measure of the change in index score a school or district experiences from the previous year. So simply, what was your index score relative to what your index score was the previous year? And as you see, you received the same marks: excellent, good, average, below average, and at risk. Let me give you a scenario here. A school can receive an excellent growth rating and an at-risk absolute rating. This would be akin to a score moving from 52 to 59. The growth rating is recognized, yet the absolute rating remains at risk. So once again, let's understand what growth rating is. Growth rating is simply your absolute index score relative to what it was the previous year. Conversely, another school may have a score that moves from 84 to 81. Although the growth rating may be at risk because the school did not experience an increase in index score, the absolute rating remains average. Now, you know, I take probably some exception to the system that the State Department has developed, and many school districts have expressed that concern, because in essence, it expects you to be in a perpetual state of growth. So when an individual looks at a growth rating of at risk, someone made a comment earlier that suggests that your scores have plummeted. That doesn't suggest that at all. I mean, you can receive a score of 90 in 2014 and receive a score of 89 in 2015 and get an at-risk growth rate because you did not grow. Now, a couple of things. It is totally absurd for anyone to suggest that our district is going to be in a perpetual state of growth. That's akin to saying with my 3 daughters, every time you take an assessment, I expect you to do better than you did on the previous assessment. So if you made a 95 on the last assessment, you got to make a 96 on the next. If you make a 96 on this one, you got to make a 97 on the next. If you make a 97 on this one, you got to make a 98 on the next. That's ridiculous. At some point in time, what you look for is to sustain a level of achievement. So we want to measure where our students are, where our district is. What you look at is our absolute rating. If you look at what is reported by the media, that's what they report, absolute rating. Let's talk about where we are as it relates to absolute rating growth. 2013 received an excellent growth rating and an average absolute rating. That's one. Also, it's very important to note that 2013 absolute index score represents the highest index score since 2001. I would say 1998, but I can't find a record for 98. So, in nearly 15 years, the absolute index score that we received in 2013 was as high as it's ever been. 2014, which I guess got a lot of conversation. Our absolute index score for 2014 was not as high as it was in 2013. And that was really a function of one factor, quite honestly, because our graduation rate slipped below 80%. And probably the first time in 2013 that our graduation rate has been above 80%, maybe since the accountability era. So that's why our scores did not outpace where they were in 2013. But I want you to take note, 2014 still was the highest absolute index score this district has received since 2001, only second to 2013. So when we talk about where is the district from an academic perspective, 2013 and 2014 represent the 2 highest years we've ever had. And so when I hear someone say, well, you didn't grow in 2014, that's akin to saying you had a 60, you moved from a 60 to a 70, you move from a 70 to an 80, from an 80 to an 85, from an 85 to a 90, and from a 90 to an 88, and you say, see, you are doing terrible. And so you say, well, no, don't look at the context of it. All you need to do is look at the previous year. Well, if all you're going to do is look at the fact that we went from a 90 to an 88, I guess you could come to that conclusion. I guess you ignore the fact that you went from a 60 all the way to an 88. So for anyone to suggest that just because you had an absolute growth rating suggests that the scores have plummeted is asinine. That's absolutely ridiculous. And the facts simply don't support such a statement. I will reiterate, the absolute index score that we received in 2014 is second only to the absolute index score we received in 2013. And I want to give all these teachers and all these parents and all these students the total credit for that, because they have put in the work, and for anyone to try and discredit their success is really unconscionable as far as I'm concerned.
Mr. Green, if I may.
You may.
The 2013 absolute index score?
Yes.
Where is that represented on the chart? I mean, if I were a layperson looking at this chart, how would I know that the absolute rating, which didn't change from average from last year, and then looking at the growth rating, which went from excellent, which is the very top, to at risk, which is the very bottom, how would I know that there's an absolute index score that's calculated that says, well, that's really not a problem?
In terms of an absolute index, Ms. Harrison, that's something that the average layman would not know. I mean, so, for example, the absolute index was 3.16. that really means nothing to the average person. I mean, you don't understand exactly what that index score would represent.
Okay.
What you would look at, Ms. Harrison, is the absolute rating. If you go to WLTX or WIS or state newspaper and they report on how school districts are performing, what do they report? They report absolute ratings. No one is going to report, as I said, growth rating, because as I showed you an example earlier, I can go to districts right now that have an excellent growth rating and an at-risk absolute rating.
Okay.
So what did that say? That said that your score went from a 52 to a 58, which is growth. We're having you grew, but you're still at risk.
Okay. So as a board member, if I'm not aware of the absolute index scoring system, and I look at the average, and I look at the growth rate from last year versus this year, and obviously, whether we went from 90 to 88 or from 90 to 12, there was a decrease. That would not cause concern if I were a parent looking at that. That would cause concern if I was not aware of the calculations and how the calculations were done for the absolute index scoring system.
Well, I guess if you are aware, Ms. Harrison, what I would say is what you would look at is the absolute rating. And so I give you a perfect example with my own children. If my daughters come home today and say, Daddy, we took a test last week and I made a 90. And then we took a test today and I made 88. Am I going to say that sky's falling and you are doing well? What I say is, well, you still are doing relatively well. You are still maintaining where you were. To suggest that, which is a flawed system, quite honestly, Ms. Harrison, but to suggest that anyone would be in a perpetual state of growth and always see an increase every single year is not logical, because the question would remain, where would that end?
Okay, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. So, as a board, as a board of trustees of education, we're not expected, we should not be expecting growth from year to year.
What I would say is you always want growth. What you want is to be able to maintain stable scores. So as a board of trustees, what I would tell you is, let's continue to focus on our absolute rating. We always want to see growth, Ms. Harrison, but I don't think it's reasonable to think, right now, let's use a perfect example, okay, and I'm going to go off script. Fairfield Magnet School had the second excellent rating in the history of this district. Phenomenal. Their absolute index score went down from last year. The absolute score is lower than it was in 2014. The only reason they don't have an at-risk rating is because people complain so much about this that the State Department made an exception and said, if you get 2 excellent ratings back to back, your growth rating can never be lower than a good. It can never be lower than a good, because people will say, wait a minute now, you're telling me I've had excellence 2, 3, 4 years in a row, but because I didn't go from an index score of 3.6 to 3.65, you're going to say I'm at risk? If I go from 3.6 to 3.4 or 3.3, but I'm still excellent. So to answer your question, should we expect Ms. Whitfield or Dr. Martin or anybody to always have an absolute index score higher than it was the previous year? That would be great. That's not realistic, because that would never end. If that were the case, Ms. Harrison, then if you were at 3.6 this year, 3.7 the next year, then 3.8 the next year, 3.9 the next year, then you just end that perfect. It's no different than you would expect with your own children.
Right.
It's no different than you expect with your own children. So I want my children to do well in school. I love for them to make A's. But it would be totally absurd for me to say if you made a 93 on this test, which is an A, you should make a 94 on the next test. You should make a 95 on the test following that, and a 96 on the test following that. You know what? If you did a 96 on this one and a 93 on the next one, I would be ecstatic.
Well, let me also
93 is it. No, 93 is it.
Well, let me ask this, Mr. Green.
Yes, ma'am.
Because in that explanation, and I thank you for that, in that explanation from excellent, and you're saying we should not expect growth from year to year. Okay. So from 2013 to 2014, even if there wasn't any growth, again, I guess my concern was we went from excellent, which is the very top, and I went through all of the statistics for all of the schools. Some went from excellent to good, some went, they vary. But the issue at hand was that we went from the very top to the very bottom, regardless of the number of points. Now, had it been an excellent to a good, an excellent to an average, well, I don't think average in that category, I don't know if it's a category, but I guess the concern was the extreme of the change, from the very top to the very bottom.
Okay, and that's an excellent question, Ms. Harrison. So let me explain it to you like this. The way the State Department system works is this. If you don't experience growth, whether you go from an 88 to an 89, an 88 to 87, or from an 88 to a 70, or 88 to a 50, it's the same thing. So an at-risk growth rating just means that you didn't grow from the previous year. So it has nothing to do with how much you didn't grow.
Okay.
It's either you grew or you didn't grow. So either you went from a 90 to a 91 or higher. It didn't matter if you went from a 90 to an 88. If you didn't grow, your growth rating says that you didn't experience growth. So your growth rating is at risk.
Okay. So can we explain how 2011 we were at excellent, and then 2012 we went down to good?
So what would happen is, let's say you had an an absolute index score in 2010 of 2.2, okay? And then your absolute index score from 2011 went from 2.2 to 2.6. So you have experienced growth. Now, there is an index that determines how much you have to grow to fall into average, good, excellent, below average, so on and so on as relates to growth rate. So it would be very simple. As long as you grew an absolute index score from the previous year, then you're going to have a positive growth rate. As long as you grew.
Okay.
All right? If you didn't experience any growth, okay, if you regress, as I said, if you went from a 90 to an 89, then that's no growth in index score, then you get an absolute and at-risk growth rate.
Okay.
Okay? And so let me talk about 2013 again, because as I said, 2013 is the highest index score we've had since the accountability era that I've been able to find. And so 2013 was a very, very high mark to make. Really, we were right on the verge of being good. I mean, I think good was a 3 point, off the top of my head, I think good was a 3.18. Our absolute index score was a 3.16. So 2013, we were right on the verge of moving from average to good. So really, the only way we could go in 2014 is a 3.17 or good. It's the only way we could go because we had come so far. So in essence, Ms. Harrison, it's almost as if the better you do, the harder it is to do better. Okay? I mean, because so it's easy to say, well, we went from a 60 to a 65, we went from 65 to 70, to 70 to 75, 75 to 80. But the more you move up, the harder it is to continue to increase. So for me, the goal is not to constantly increase. At some point in time, you got to get to the point of maintaining. Not necessarily just increasing. How do you maintain where you are? How do you maintain average, good, excellent? So you have to look at growth rating in context, and that's a very clear reason why people do not focus, as I said, on growth rating.
Okay, and just for clarification.
Okay.
The at-risk growth rate and the index score calculation, what tools are utilized in those calculations?
Well, the State Department does that. So what the State Department does is, there's a very intricate formula where you get a person. Graduation rate counts a certain percentage, pass score counts a certain percentage, HSAP, intercourse. It's a rubric that they use. So we don't calculate that on our own. We have to call the State Department and tell us, send us our index rate.
Okay, so for graduation rate, which decreased from 2013.
2014.
2020, right, from 2014, was a decrease from 2013. 3 of the 5 areas of pass testing we decreased. That would have been calculated. So, and I guess I'm thinking in layman's terms, at risk means, to me, or when I looked at it, and knowing the other scores that had come in numbers, I mean, we failed in a lot of areas. We failed, some areas we attained, some areas we remained the same. But it appears that we failed in more areas than we stayed, remained the same, or that we grew, which is why we are at risk. And for me as a board member, and I apologize if it offends anyone, that's just a concern, that we declined in more areas than we gained.
And I would say, Ms. Harrison, that's not accurate, because I don't know, you looked at pass scores?
Yes, sir.
You looked at core scores?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And exam,
and exam. I would probably say it was probably about half and half in terms of areas that we grew and areas that we may have lost some points in. But I want to go back to what I said earlier, Ms. Harrison. You know, when I evaluate principals, I don't think it would be realistic for me to suggest that every year your averages should be higher than they were the previous year. I mean, you got new students, new dynamics. What I want you to do is to be able to maintain. At some point in time, you get to the point of trying to maintain. That's no different than, as I said, with your own personal child. If the child had an A in the class, you want to maintain an A. You don't necessarily say, I want your score to be higher than it was the previous year all the time. Or B, it needs to be higher than it was the previous year.
Okay, so, and this is just for my clarification as far as the dynamics of the board and how we're going to work. Here at Fairfield, our train of thought is we just want to maintain.
I didn't say that. I never said that. What I said, Ms. Harrison, I think what you want to do, Ms. Harrison, is to look at a trend. So let's talk about what our goals are at Fairfield. All right, our goal is to be an excellent grade district, and so we were very close in 2013. Now, does that mean that we are going to grow every year from 2014 to now? That doesn't necessarily mean that. I don't think that's realistic. What I want to see is, I want to see some consistent improvement. That means that, well, we may grow a little bit this year, we may drop a little bit this year, we may grow a little bit more, may drop a little, may maintain, but you want to see, you over continue. You want to see us continue to grow. So what I would say is, look at the schools, look at the district as a measure over time, not in any single year. I don't think we should ever say that the absolute index score should be higher than it was the previous year for every year. What I say is, if you look at it, Ms. Harrison, over the course of 5 years, you want to see more growth than you did decrease. That's what you want to see over time. You want to see more growth than you did decrease. So you can't look at it necessarily in any one single snapshot. If you call the State Department right now and speak to someone and say, tell me about Fairfield County, because I talk to people at the State Department, they think we've done as excellent. And so I would be curious to tell you, what did they tell you about our performance?
I mean, nothing in general.
Okay. Well, and so I'll tell you, they speak very favorably of our performance, even with that, because they understand it's not reasonable to think that we are always going to have an increase in index score every single year.
Okay.
And I want to show you very briefly, because my next slide, it sort of have a little context, and this is just the free reducing of the population for several surrounding districts. And as you see, Fairfield County has one of the highest free reducing of the populations of any district in our area. And the reason I'm showing that is because I'm gonna use that information to really put in context our scores. Now, Ms. Harrison was talking about pass scores.
Hey, Mr. Green, I hate to interrupt, but I just want to just make a comment to the public. Please understand, this is not personal. This interaction that Mr. Green and I just had, as well as other board members, that's what a board meeting is intended for. So when I made the comment that the board is dysfunctional, that's because we don't often get to do things like this. Thank you, Mr. Green.
And so, Ms. Harris, let me say this, and y'all can call me anytime if you have any questions. We ought to wait for board meeting. If anybody got any questions about accountability or anything, you call me anytime, and I'll be happy to answer the question. The reason I showed the free and reduced lunch numbers is because the State Department compares your district with what they consider students with, districts with like students. Districts that have a similar poverty index. Because the research is very clear in terms of the challenges to educating students that come from poverty. And I am very, very proud as the superintendent of schools in Fairfield County that when you compare our schools and our scores with students from like district, that we exceed them in every category on past assessment. Now, this is only the start. And I tell people this is where we're starting. Our goal is to outperform all schools. Whether you have a 0% poverty index. But once again, as I said, you have to start somewhere. So you don't go from being behind schools of like schools to all of a sudden being ahead of all schools. But that is where we are headed. And we are very proud of that, and that is a testament to the work that students have done. Now, me and Ms. Harris, as we've been in this exchange, we had a conversation about why do I compare 2014 and not 2013? And the answer is still the same. I want people to understand, I look at this in terms of a long-term improvement. And so this is where we are right now, and we don't necessarily get here overnight. It should be incremental growth, because incremental growth is something that can be sustained over time. I'm not looking for just highs and lows. We're looking for incremental growth, something that we can sustain over the long period. ASAP, as you see, we are both schools with like students, a district with like students, in a course assessment. And I tell you, this is start. I want you to look at where we are, and I will show you where we were in 2011. But we are ahead of districts like ours, sometimes as much as 15–20% more. Let's just look at where we were in 2011. And you have the same slide. In 2011, percent of students that were successful on English 1 EOC, 39%. Now we're at 67. 2011, it was 54%. Now we're at 85% in math. Biology, we were at 38%. Now we're at 61%. U.S. history, we were at 25. Now we're at 43. All subjects. Just 3 years ago, we were at 40.8. Now we're at 65.4. Folks, the growth is simply undeniable. And quite honestly, I don't know how everyone does not celebrate that. I can tell you, when I talk to folks from the State Department, when I talk to Dr. Allborn, who comes from Ohio, the question he asked me, how did you do that? His question was, how did y'all do that? Not, you didn't do enough. How did you even do that? So to experience this kind of growth in a 3-year period is simply phenomenal. And I want to go back to what I said earlier. Teachers and students and parents and principals and district office staff and support staff have worked extremely hard for these results. And it is something to be celebrated. It's something to be celebrated.
Madam Chair, and Mr. Green, we all do celebrate the successes of our district. And I think it's disappointing that you would stand there and insinuate that there's anybody in this district who's not. But I think we also are all concerned, and we also want to make sure that, again, we're not putting out false positives. I'm very proud of the report card grade, but I'm also disappointed, as I expressed earlier, about the AP test and the fact that when I went on the State Department website, I saw that none of our students passed the AP test last year, and that information was not given to us from you. And I think you did a superlative job of with your presentation. But there's a whole lot of information that was excluded. We're sitting here, we're focusing totally on the district, but we also need to be focusing on each one of our individual schools.
And I am, that's next.
Okay,
That's next.
okay, let me finish now.
Okay.
You had your chance. But we also need to focus on what we need to do for each one of our individual schools. You know, we do a lot of recognizing some schools, but we're not paying attention to what's going on with some of our other schools. In particular, our elementary school, where we house most of our students with disabilities. And what is it that we can do to put those students back to their prospective schools so that they can be mainstream, and we don't have such a cluster of them in one school, and then we expect for at some point in time that school to show increases on the report card, but it's going to be very difficult because if we segregate our children in any kind of way within our system, then we can celebrate for one, whereby we're leaving behind another one over here. You know, also when I said SAT scores, when I went on their website and looked at our SAT scores, you can see where the number of students taking SAT has declined tremendously. It gives the impression that we're encouraging our students to not to take the SAT test, but to reach over here and take the AC test. And that might be good depending on what school they're going to. But depending on what school they're going to, they probably do need to take the SAT. And instead of us trying to focus on which test might be easier, we need to focus on how do we put that rigor there. So that when our children leave the district, we hadn't made them think that they're the greatest of the greatest. And then when they go to college, one semester or whatever, then they come back home. So this is not about trying to discredit or not show appreciation or gratitude for what is happening with our children. This is about saying that we do not want to leave any of our children behind. And we want to look at every single aspect of our baby's education so we can make sure when they leave this district, they can look behind and say that we gave, and we can look forward and say that we gave them everything that we could within our academic program to make them successful. Take our athletes. We should have a 2.0 average in place for our children to play school, to play sports, and we don't. You know, so we just need to make sure that we're looking at everything for our children, and we just need to make sure that we're not just out here trying to rally our parents and make them think one thing when there are other things going on. And yes, this child over here may be doing great, but then are we making sure that this child over here, we're giving this child everything this child needs? When I hear us say in this district that we're giving every single child in this district an individual education plan, so we know where every single child in this district weakness is, so that we can move every single child as great as much as possible and as fast as possible, then I'll be saying double your salary. But to say, but to not look at the individual components. You know, if you don't identify what the weaknesses, then you can't grow from them.
And so Ms. McDaniel, let me get to something. Okay, and so you referenced AP scores, and we have really increased the number of students as of the last year or so that are enrolled in AP courses. But the reason I'm not discussing AP is because AP is not a part of the school report card now. Okay, so I'm here discussing school report card information. AP is not a part of the calculation for a school report card. All right, SAT is not a part of the school report card. ACT is not a part of the school report card. So I'm not trying to ignore anything. I'm simply speaking on the components for how the school report card rating is determined. So I'm not adding additional things. I'm not trying to ignore anything, Ms. McDaniel. What I'm doing is speaking primarily to the components of how our school report cards are determined.
But mostly what you were speaking to is refuted the posting that was made by one of our board members, but the exchange that you and she had just now, that exchange should have happened before we went out in the community and started spreading the fact that she put this on Facebook. And shame on whoever brought it to you for you to go out in the community and try to make an issue out of it without having a conversation with her. And then we wouldn't have to sit here now and be where we are.
Well, simply I'll say to that, Ms. McDaniel, the same conversation that you advised that I could have with her, she could have with me. And so I won't.
But she didn't go out in the community spread. She didn't go out in the community.
I won't get into that. But let me say this. I'm not trying to refute anything. As we talk about our report card data, these are simply the facts. If you want to talk about how our report card is derived, what our scores are, where our scores have been. These are simply the facts.
But Ms. Green, you also then need to talk about how most of these scores back here came during the era when we had the PAT test. And when we had the PAT test, all educators complained about how hard that test was and how bad No Child Left Behind was, and everybody was doing bad. So when you compare from 2011 or 10 or 12 on back, you talking about two different tests. And when the PAT test came along, they reduced that test. That test is not as difficult.
But Ms. McDaniel, we've had multiple changes in assessments. I mean, at one point we had BSAP, then we went to HSAP. We had PASS.
But the only point I'm making is that, the only point I'm making, Mr. Green, is that the test was lightened when we went to the PASS, and it was not as rigor and tough as it was when it was the PAT test.
Well, I would disagree with that assessment, Mr. McDaniel.
And you should.
Yeah, I would disagree with that assessment.
So you should.
So Ms. McDaniel, let's say this. I think what you're trying to suggest is that when I speak about the growth that the district has experienced from 2006 when we had 4 at-risk ratings consecutively, are you trying to say that the growth is not as substantial because of the differences in assessment? Are you saying that?
But Mr. Green, I don't think this is a place for you to try to challenge me. What I'm saying is what I said. What I said was that we need to look at all of our tests. We need to have individual education plans for each one of our children. You know, we love to compare our children to other school districts and other states and other. Let's have an individual education plan so we have the money in this district to do it. So we can look at each one of our children individually, determine where their weaknesses are, where their weakness is, and then work on those weaknesses for each one of our children individually.
All right.
Okay, so please don't try to put words in my mouth. Please don't.
Well, that's why I asked the question.
Thank you.
Mr. Green,
yes.
I'd like to say one thing. I might be wrong, but my understanding, the magnet school does do this as far as an individual type thing to see where they need to work on per child. I know that was brought up to us when the state superintendent came here. Am I correct?
I'm not quite sure what you're talking about, Ms. Hartman, but I say we do that with every student in this district, not just a magnet school. I mean, magnet
So
school.
we do that. And they look back at what they need to work on.
Exactly. Exactly. And you go in our schools, Ms. Hartman, you probably find data walls in every one of our schools that has the historical test data from every single student. And they can look at rather little Johnny has been met or not met in science for the last 4 years. So, I mean, that's not anything unique to the magnet school. That's something that all of our schools do.
Well, I'm just saying, what can we get the teacher to look at when they go into math, when they go into science, where they need to work on those areas?
Yes, ma'am. That happens at every single school.
How do we put in place, do we have anything in place as far as the disability children that may decide to go to college?
What do you mean, what in place? When you say put in place?
Where they're in line to take the exit exam with accommodations if needed.
They all take well, you don't take exit exams anymore. That's sensible.
I'm sorry, the ACT and the SAT.
Well, that's an individual student decision, and that's something that individual students make in the IEP.
But they don't know that.
Well,
So what I'm saying is they need to, somehow we need to put something in place there. Because the parents don't know, the teachers don't know. My understanding is in the booklet that they give them, and it might have been 10 years ago, 5 years ago, prior to the first time they were tested and put into special services.
So when I say that, Ms. Hartman, I don't make any assumptions about what parents know or don't know, okay? And I've been a part of many IEP meetings. And so when you're in an IEP meeting discussing a student and a student's future, these are things that occur. And so that is a very individual process. There's not a canned conversation that occurs with all IEP. It's just depending on what this individual student wants to do. Now, if this individual student is saying, well, my goal is to go in the Army, then we probably aren't going to be discussing taking ACT or SAT. We're probably going to be talking about taking an ASVAB.
What they changed by the time they were junior and senior, they haven't had the entrance test for college.
Well, that's no different than any regular student. I mean, all students don't elect to take the SAT and ACT because some of them say that I don't plan to go to college. And so some of them change their minds in the junior year or in the senior year, and if that happens, then they go and take those respective tests.
But seeing this disability, I'm finding out recently that they have to be retested if they haven't been tested in the last 3 years. That's why I'm questioning that.
Well, Ms. Hoffman, that will be the conversation with you and the trustees meeting now, okay?
Okay, thank you.
I think we move on because, you know, there was a question about individual schools. So let me because I'm taking more time than I wanted to. But let's kind of talk about where we are with each individual school. Giga has been one of the few schools that's had an increase in absolute index score for the last couple of years. Okay, as you see there, absolute index score in 2010, 11, and 12 was below average. That has since moved to average in 2013 and 2014, and they've seen an absolute index score increase from 2013 to 2014, and prior to that, from 2012 to 2013. Looking at Giga's data disaggregated, as you see, they've had an increase in writing almost every year since 2012. In English, and this is a perfect example, Ms. Harrison. So Giga saw an increase in 2013 in writing, from 2012 to 2013, but they didn't necessarily see an increase from 2013 to 2014. Now, it's still higher than it was in 2012, so I don't necessarily look at Giga and say, what are you doing wrong? Because it's unrealistic for me to assume that they're going to see an increase in every subject area every year, but we look at trends. They did see an increase in math all 3 years, increase in science all 3 years, and an increase in social studies all 3 years. The reality is, the more Giga increases, the harder it is to see an increase every year. The better you do, the harder it is to do better. And so, it's kind of ironic that you somehow punish people for not doing better, because when you were doing bad, it wasn't as hard to do better. But the higher you get, the harder it is to improve every year. Yes.
Well, yes, sir, but, and I don't want you, Mr. Green, I'm not trying to punish anyone. And although it is harder, when we look at the statistics for Giga, and I'm just going to tell you from 2012 to 2013, and unfortunately I couldn't do what I wanted to do for the staff at Giga last year, as you and I had talked, but when you look at the statistics for Giga, it's hard what they did. One category, they didn't grow, but the other categories, they did. So, we have to have the expectation. Do we expect outstanding excellence every year? And I understand what you're stating. But when I look at Giga's results, I say to myself, it can be done. Whether it's 1 point, whether it's a half a point, I'm not asking that we grow every year exponentially by leaps and bounds. I understand what you're saying. But that chart is indicative of, well, I'll say it that way. That chart is indicative of my expectations of what we should be doing here in Fairfield. And I applaud Ms. Bramlett and her faculty and staff.
They've done an excellent job.
Absolutely.
But the point I'm trying to make you understand, Mr. Harrison, we're talking about 2 years of data. So I don't want to set the expectation that when we start looking at Giga over a 5-year period, that if they don't achieve that every year for the next 5 years, then somehow they're unsuccessful.
No, sir. And that's not what I'm saying.
Yes, I'm just saying, you look at it over time, and you look at trend, and this is something else that we have to consider. When you start talking about test data, you aren't talking about widgets. You're talking about kids, and so you have different classes of students. That's almost akin to saying, if you had 5 kids, you always want the one who every following kid to be better than the one previously. And so sometimes, you know what? You might have a class of kids that may struggle a little bit more than the class before in writing. You may have a class of kids that may have more gaps in math than the class before. So you still have to look at it in context. We aren't talking about the same students. We're talking about different students, and we want to see sustained success, but I don't think it's really fair to always compare classes. Correct. And suggest that every class should be doing better than the class before, no different than you would say, I wanted my childhood Johnny to do better than his younger sister. Okay. You follow what I'm saying? So you sometimes you compare apples and oranges.
And Ms. Green, that's the same thing with us, always explaining, always comparing district, instead of sticking with the individual student. When it was convenient, when we had the PAT test going on, and maybe that's part of the confusion. I know Ms. Harrison wasn't on the board then, but for other folks, what was presented was the growth. And if we ask questions about the absolute, nobody want to talk about the absolute. They want to talk about whatever the growth rate was. Because again, the complaint was that the PAT test was so difficult. So then we come over here with the pass, and now we're saying, okay, the growth rate in essence don't really mean anything. We're going to focus on the absolute rating. But then we just have to make sure that we're very careful that the absolute rating does not drop next year, because then we got to find some kind of explanation to explain that. So once you start dropping too much, then eventually that absolute rating is going to drop.
Well, if you do, and so that's my point, is that's why you want to maintain it. That's what I continue to say. And in terms of assessments, Mr. Daniel, we are going to a brand new assessment nation. I mean, every so many years, the state decides to go to ACT.
What is Aspire?
Yeah.
But 3 to 8.
Are we going to get any kind of presentation on that so we can understand how it works and what it means and how it differs from math?
It differs from math and you pass.
Math. Or as far as supposed to be the new state test.
Right. Yeah, as far as the new state test. And so we can give you some kind of broad descriptions of what it means, but we don't know a whole lot about it ourselves.
Yeah, we do.
That's an ACT problem. But the point I was making, Mr. McDaniel, every so many years the state changes assessments. I mean, that's happening.
And that's just crazy. That's just crazy.
Well, but that's the reality.
I know, that's what it is, but it's crazy.
And so I would probably say, if I talk to principals here and say, well, was the pass an easy test compared to the PAC? They would say, well, both of them are hard. Yeah, there's a different test. And so we change from BSAP to HSAP, and we're going to change from HSAP to Aspire. I mean, it's
so when you
always
go to your
change.
superintendent's meetings, can you ask them, can we just stick with something? And, you know, we already have NAEP, we already have SAT, we already have ACT, so can we just focus on those? And then our students are competing globally.
But that's above my pay grade.
No, it's not. You just got raised tonight. What you talking about?
Yeah, I don't get to make those decisions. State legislature make that.
Yeah, but they take information from what's that organization you with? SCASA, yes sir. Yeah. So if you could just kind of mention that a little bit, and then we'll mention it on the school board side.
I'll do that on your behalf.
Madam Chair, we do have a new state superintendent, so hopefully we'll move up from there too.
That is correct, Tom. I'm taking too long. Let me kind of breeze through here. Carmelo Gold and Silver School for 2013 and 2014, tremendous job for Giga. After multiple years of below average absolute rating, Giga has maintained an average absolute rating for 2013 and 14, and consecutive excellent growth rate. Great job. Fairfield Elementary School. Fairfield Elementary School had an at-risk rating, I think, in 27, 28, 29, 2010, and maybe 2011 off the top of my head. Fairfield Elementary School was identified as a priority school by the State Department. And this is a school that received an at-risk absolute rating for 3 consecutive years. Fairfield Elementary has received 3. Pardon me?
What year was they identified as at-risk?
It's right here. Fairfield Elementary School was as a priority school. Yeah, Fairfield Elementary School was a priority school in 2011. And they came off the list in 2012. Okay. And so I want to start there. When we talk about growth, we want to talk about where we've been as it relates to Fairfield Elementary School and where we are. In 2014, Fairfield Elementary School was about 8 students away from moving from below average to average. Actually, we had calculated that they would be average, but they had 8 students who were not there on the 45th day and the 135th day. So they had to be removed from that cohort. And because they have such a transient population, a lot of people come and go, it becomes very difficult. And they probably have the most transient population because they're downtown Winsboro. FES, as I said, was removed from the priority school list in 2012. This list identified schools that had an at-risk absolute rating for 3 consecutive years. So, Dr. Martin and her staff deserve some tremendous kudos for even getting to that point. Because somebody had to get home with that. And she came there in 2011. So you got there in 2011, and by 2012, they were off the list. Folks, it's very, very easy to go someplace that's going well, but to go someplace that's struggling, you have to be a transformational leader. And I'm glad to say that Dr. Martin and her staff are truly transforming learning there. As I said, they were only 2/10 of a point away from receiving an average absolute rating. They had 7 blue-chip scholars. For the past 2 years, FES has seen an increase in the percentage of students reading status and ELA writing and social studies. And this is a very important point to acknowledge, because Ms. McDaniel mentioned this. Fairfield Elementary School has the highest exceptional ed population of any school in the district. Nearly 19% of their students are exceptional ed students. And so her yield decline, their yield decline, is much steeper than other schools. Now, Ms. McDaniel said, well, why don't you send more special ed kids to other schools? Well, you know, I don't know if that's necessarily what we should do for the sake of a report card. Because, you know, I think at the end of the day, we want Dr. Martin to do the best she can to serve students regardless of where they are. And we don't want to make decisions simply as a function of report cards. Because it's not about report cards, folks. It's about children. You know, I had to learn this lesson when I was a high school principal. I never forget that, you know, it was one year that my graduation rate slipped, similar to what Ms. Swilly experienced, because we had an increase in the number of exceptional ed students in that particular class. And just to understand graduation rate and how self-contained affects that, if you have a class of 100 students and you have 10 self-contained students in that class, that means these are students that are not working to earn a standard high school diploma, severely autistic, whatever the case may be. Your graduation rate starts at 90. You don't start at 100 now. Your graduation rate starts at 90, so you can only move from there. So the higher the number of exceptional ed students, not just exceptional ed, but self-contained students, the more adversely it affects your graduation rate. Fairfield Central High School, from 2013 to 2014, it went from 1 self-contained student to 11. So you can see how that adversely affects their graduation rate. So right off the bat, you take 11 students out. Even if you're perfect, you take 11 students off the top. Now that's a ridiculous system, but that's how it works. Well, anyway, one particular year I had 13 self-contained students in my school. And as a principal, my graduation rate went down about 6 or 7 points. And for a second I said, man, if I didn't have those self-contained students, my graduation rate would have been higher. And that was probably one of the worst points in my educational career. Because the reality was, it wasn't about graduation rate, it was about students. And I said, and my thinking is, I would rather not have these students so my graduation rate would be higher than I missed them out. I didn't get another profession. Because it shouldn't be about a high graduation rate, it's about serving students. And there were students in that class that will never pass an HSAP and never get a high school diploma, but they may learn to write their name, they may learn to go to the bathroom, they may learn to speak 4 or 5 words. Regardless of what they do, we want to do what's in the best interest of those students. And I want Dr. Martin to do the same thing. Put your focus on serving students. Put your focus on doing the best that you can, and the rest will take care of itself.
And Mr. Green, let's not be mistaken now. I'm not saying send those students back to their home schools for report card reasons, because even though we know a lot of that do occur, I'm saying that because there are federal regulations where we're supposed to mainstream those students. And we have all of them, and if the right parent pursue us the right way and know that we have all the students, or the majority of the students coming in and we're congregating them in one environment, then we may be opening ourselves up for something. So if I'm sitting here saying that every child in this district should have an IEP, an individual education plan for that particular child, so we can identify that particular student's weaknesses, then that would also include every student, whether special needs student, whether they're at the elementary school or not, which I know the federal government already requires to have individual education plans for each one of our special needs children. But we also know that we don't do everything we're supposed to do for those, because I get a lot of phone calls and I send them to you, and I hope you're handling it if they calling you, or either calling the director. So I'm just, again, what I'm saying is, we need to be careful when we conjugate all of the majority of our special needs children at one school and not have them so that they're mainstream and they're experiencing what it's like to be around students who do not have the same special needs categorization that they have.
So Ms. Renee, just to make one clarification, when the federal government speaks about mainstreaming students, it's not in reference to what school is. It's in reference to the students that they're exposed to. So mainstream does not mean that you go to Fairfield Elementary School versus Giga versus I mean, the school really doesn't matter.
But it sends a strong message when you're pulling them from the different areas of the community where you have elementary schools. And then you're pulling them into one school.
Okay.
So
And
I'm making it as a statement. You're the superintendent, you need to deal with it.
Okay, well, Ms. Renee, let's give an example. All right. Let's say that Fairfield Elementary School has an ED self-contained program. All right. And there are 5 kids that live in Fairfield Elementary Zone. There are 2 kids that live in Kelly Miller Zone, 1 kid that lives in Giga Zone, and 1 kid that lives in McCoy Listen Zone. Probably what we're going to do is to send all 10 or 11 of those kids to Fairfield Elementary School.
But Ms. Green, that ain't for you to prove to me. That'll be for you to prove to the parent. If a parent finds that what you're saying is hypothetical, it may or may not be occurring. But if it's not occurred, it's not me that you're going to have to deal with. I'm just bringing it to your attention.
I'm well aware. I think we're well within in the letter of the law as it relates to any federal or state legislation. Okay. Let me move on to Kelly Miller. Kelly Miller received an average rating for 2014, and they've been maintaining that for 2010. And our goal is to get past that average and get it good. Kelly Miller earned a Pamela Gold Award for general performance, and a Pamela Silver for closing the achievement gap in 2013. 10 students qualified as Duke Tip Scholars, 30% increase in the number of third grade students who were met exemplary in writing, and a 17% increase in the number of students who scored met exemplary in social studies. McCoy Listen, as you saw, McCoy Listen had a below average rating in 2010, with the average in 2011, then back down to below average in 2012, but has since maintained an average rating in 2013 and 2014 with a good average growth rating. 2014, McCoy Listen did an outstanding job because they saw an increase in the percentage of students scoring better exemplary in all areas of PASS: writing, ELA, math, science, and social studies. Outstanding job by Dr. Bell and her staff. Now, as I was saying earlier, do I expect Dr. Bell to get that every single year? I don't think that's realistic. I wouldn't measure Dr. Bell to that kind of standard. But that's definitely something to celebrate and something that she'll be shooting for every single year. And we'll continue to look at trend data. How do they perform over time? 7 students qualified as a Duke Tip Scholar, and 1 student, I can't remember his name, I'm looking at his face, but I can't call his name, had a perfect score on the ELA section of PASS. Outstanding. Fairfield Magnet School. Fairfield Magnet School had an average rating in 2010, absolute rating, and an average absolute rating in 2011. And you know, this is very important to recognize because very often people say, well, Fairfield Magnet School has, good kids, they should get extra rating. Well, they've had those kids for years. But the ratings weren't always excellent. And so let's not diminish the work of Ms. Whitfield and her staff to get to this point. Okay, that is a tremendous success. And it's one thing to get there, but as Ms. Whitfield is finding out, it's hard to stay there. As I said, their absolute index score wasn't as high in 2013 as it was in 2014. And so it's always a struggle to maintain, much less to continue to grow every single year. And so we're very proud of what they have done. Consecutive absolute rates in 2013 and 14. As she said, 8 teachers had at least 90% of their students who scored better exemplary in ELA, math, science, or social studies. Ms. Hartman asked the question whether we have other schools with similar results. Yes, we do. What happens is schools just come to us and say, I want to present X thing to X teacher during this board meeting. We don't necessarily try to do it all in one meeting. So in January, Dr. Martin may come and say, I want to recognize some of my teachers. In April, someone else may say, I want to recognize some of my teachers. So it doesn't mean that others are not doing it. We just don't necessarily try to recognize all of us in the same meeting. 21 students scored exemplary in all areas of PASS, and 33 students qualified as Duke Tip Scholars. Outstanding. Fairfield Middle School. Fairfield Middle School was below average in 2010, but has maintained an average rating for the last 4 consecutive years. Great job, man. And I want to give Ms. Malloy some credit there because I think if I go back to maybe 2008, they may have been at risk, and so she has done a great job really. Maybe 2007, I don't know the exact year, but she did a great job of moving that school along, and Dr. Hardy has maintained that same momentum. And, folks always say, well, how do you get to the next level? Well, the first step is to maintain what y'all and not regress. And so I think we're doing a good job of maintaining. So now our next step is move forward. Our next step is to take some of these averages and go to good. And I can assure you, these principals are working very hard to make that happen. Fairfield Middle School, just some highlights: 90% pass rate on Algebra 1 EOC, 97% pass rate in English 1 EOC, 105 students scored exemplary on the ELA section of pass, 97 scored exemplary on the writing section of pass, and 15 students identified for the Duke Tip Identification Program. Outstanding job. And finally, Fairfield Central High School. You know, Fairfield Central High School was one graduation rate away from moving to good. And I'm telling you, I was licking my chops because I knew Fairfield Central was going to get good this year, and the district was going to go from average to good. I predicted, I think I told James, I told James it was going to happen. And we set the ball high here. I mean, we are content with being average. And let's be clear, you know, as a district, average is a whole lot better than we've been, but we are content with being there. Had it not been for those 11 self-contained students, Fairfield Central High School would have gone to good this year. And they would have gone, and the district would have gone from average to good. And so when you think about school report card, but it's a very complex thing here. And it doesn't take a whole lot to shift the balance. Now, some people say Fairfield Central High School didn't experience growth. I said, no. Let me back up a second. Fairfield High School experienced some significant growth. Because if I go back here to inner core scores, and this was going to be the difference in terms of why it's going to happen. Because two things had to happen for Fairfield Central High School to go from average to good. Number one, we had to maintain a graduation rate of 80%. The second thing is we had to increase our inner core scores to at least 65% for all students. Now, U.S. history just in 2013 was at, I think, 19 or 20%. And so they went from 19 or 20% up to 43.4%. Algebra 1 just in 2013 was probably at about 81%, so they increased that. English probably was at about 62%, so they increased that. So they saw growth in most areas of the inner course exam. The only problem was we didn't maintain that 80% graduation rate. And so that's why we didn't get any good at Fairfield Central High School. But we're no less proud of the work that they've done.
Mr. Green.
Yes, ma'am.
Do we know how many students left the high school and went over to GOA that impacts our graduation rate?
I don't know that answer off the top of my head, but I'll probably say it's not a lot. Maybe 2 or 3 who ended up going to GOA enrolled in the adult ed program. But we had a lot of students, Mr. McDaniel, that went in the evening high school program. And students who are part of the evening high school program are still a part of our record. They still are reflected on our graduation rate. So whether they finish or don't finish, they still count in that number.
So where's the evening high school?
At GOA.
So we have evening high school, GOA, and what's that other thing? That red and white? Yeah. Star Academy?
Well, I call all of that Going On Odyssey Academy. So there are several programs under the umbrella of the Going On Odyssey Academy Alternative Mode Learning Program. You have adult ed, you have evening high school, you have behavior bond, and you have Star Academy. So you have multiple students in multiple programs all under the same building.
And we have enough certified people over there to make sure those students are getting all the classes they need to graduate?
Well, I think so, Mr. McDaniel, but if you want to make a motion to add some more price about the jump.
No, I want to make a motion that you check into it and give me some
I
specifics.
check on it all the time.
I want specifics, I don't know what it
Well,
all.
the answer is yes. Yeah, the answer is yes.
But you don't have enough data to show that, you just saying that right now from the top of your head.
Yeah.
So,
What kind of data? Basically, you have enough students to achieve the instructional program. And so what I do is I talk about the devil. And so when I go meet with her, I ask her how things are going, how your staff. And when she tells me things are going well, we're able to accomplish our goal, then that's what I go.
so what do we have to look at to see whether or not the goals are being accomplished over there?
Well, that's a very good question, Mr. Daniel, because GOA students are calculated in the high school or middle school report card. They do not have their own individual beds totals. So when you start looking at the report card data for the high school, that also includes students from Going Out and Academy. If you look at the report card data for the middle school, that also includes students who don't have that. So they go back to their home school. They do not get their own separate report card.
So all the students that leave the high school go over to GOA. I know it used to be 45 days. They stay over there for a certain period of time, then they matriculate back over to the high school? Or they graduate from over there?
Well, it just depends on what program it is. It's not the same all school. So in other words, if you go over there with Saw Academy, you'll be there.
I'm talking about the ones that go over there for GOA.
All of it is GOA.
The ones that are expelled from the high school that go over there.
So if you talk about behavior mod, the behavior mod program, generally they stay there for 45 days.
And then they matriculate back over to the high school.
Or the middle school.
Okay, I'm talking about high school right now.
Okay.
So they'll go over to GOA, stay over there 45 days, then they matriculate back over to the high school.
Okay.
I just want to make sure I'm hearing you correctly. Okay. And the ones who are in the Star Academy program, they stay over there and graduate from that program.
No, they don't graduate. No, they just stay there for the year.
They spend a full year over there, then they matriculate back the
To the
next
high
year.
school. Back to the high school.
Then on the second year.
And then, yeah, they stay there for a year, then they move to the high school the following year.
Okay, and then adult ed is separate, doesn't count. And that's where they actually graduate from adult ed in its own program.
Yeah.
Adult ed. Okay, now those students on 8-step tests that we were supposed to be catching those students to make sure that they can get their diploma, if that's the only reason why they didn't get it, where are we with those students?
Most of them have applied for graduation. I'm not quite sure whether all of them. I have to give an update on that.
Okay, you will send some information. We asked for some stuff last time. You never sent
You
it.
asked about that?
No, we asked for that, but we asked for some other stuff you ain't sent.
You can talk about that. I don't know what you're talking about. That was in Modoc. That was in Modoc. In Modoc's inside pocket.
Side pocket. The cost for the
Okay, let's stay on the superintendent's report.
the criteria.
The criteria, all of that should have been in Modoc.
The criteria was in it, but the amount that we spent on it wasn't in it.
But I'll check it out. Anything else?
Where now?
It was in last Wednesday's side.
All I saw in last Wednesday's side pocket was Mr. Green's evaluation instrument.
Okay, well, Mr. Daniel, it's not there. We can have it before.
Okay.
All right. As I close, I took a lot more time than I anticipated. I would just like to thank the principals, the teachers, the support staff, and everyone for working so hard to get us where we are. And, I heard a quote from someone years ago that kind of sums up where I think we are. And it is that we aren't necessarily where we want to be, and we aren't necessarily where we're going to be, but we are where we were. And I know that's in proper English. But we are. And so we have experienced significant growth here, and we will continue to set the bar high, folks. Our goal is to move from ordinary to extraordinary. Our goal is to have excellent rated schools and an excellent rated district. But that's not necessarily going to happen overnight. We will continue the process of experiencing incremental growth over the next many years. Any questions?
You want to talk about that?
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. All right. Thank you, Ted.
Madam Chair, I want to take a point of personal privilege and recognize Mr. Monzel Simpson in the audience, who served on our board during those years when Mr. Green said we did so great. So we just acknowledge him in the audience.
Thank you for being here. All right, we'll move on to the, we're still in the superintendent's report, sorry.
All right, the next thing, Chairman Reed and members of the board, I'd like to recommend for your approval the issuance of a $6 gift card to all full-time district employees, and a couple of things. I mean, as I reflect back on this whole accreditation process, and think about how tremendously hard students, teachers, instructional staff, and support staff work, I think it would be a very good gesture for us just to show some gratitude, some appreciation for all the hard work and obtaining the status of district accreditation for the next 5 years. So because of the tremendous effort and work put forth by the entire district, I am recommending the issuance of the $60 gift cards to all full-time employees. We have identified some savings in the budget, therefore we will not need to go in fund balance to make that happen. So this is something we can do in the context of our approval.
So how did we come up with $60 and where's the?
So let's get a motion.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the recommendation of the gift card bonus.
Right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Pruitt, for the motion, seconded by Mr. Jackson. Thank you, and we'll open for discussion. Mr. Gandy?
Yeah, how do we come up with $60 and where we propose to get the gift cards from?
We're proposing to get the gift cards from Walmart, Mr. McDaniel, and the $60, because taxes and whatnot will come out of it. We felt that we wanted to do something where employees got at least a $50 incentive.
And Ms. Green,
Yeah.
we just did your evaluation. And what was the amount that some board members thought you so graciously earned? 5%?
5%. That's in my contract.
On 140 or either 148,000. I don't know if they stated whether it's on the base salary, on the attrition of the salary going up. But we give you all of that you could only find in the budget, but we put $1.5 million back in the budget. $60 to give our employees. And you just talked about all the great work they did on the report cards, and I'm not going to give as much credit to SACS, because we know that's a membership organization. You'll be paid to be a member of SACS. But apparently they did great with the state accreditation, except for the one thing I mentioned, which wasn't the staff fault, but your fault as the superintendent, is that we had the person out there who was not
Mr.
certified.
Gandy, would you like to amend the motion?
No, I asked Mr. Green a question. I wanted to answer my question. Then I see if I want to.
The question was taking on another life,
Yeah, I've told you, we identified some savings in the budget. We felt that was a reasonable amount, but as Ms. Reed said, you're welcome to amend my motion.
My question was, how did you come up with $60? Because that's what you started out with.
I just answered the question.
How did you come up with $60? That's right, you upset because that show was not nice how you said that. Okay, $60. I said, how did you come up with it?
Listen, I don't understand the question.
Okay, I mean, I'm just concerned that you want to recommend $60, that's all.
But Mr. McDaniel, I think an amendment was welcome.
Well, I think that's micromanagement because we don't know what the budget is, and we didn't discuss this at the time of the budget, so you should have come up with a decent amount when you came up with a recommendation.
So you don't want to amend the motion to change it?
I want you to tell me how much money we got, then I'm in the based on how much money.
Well, you can always go to fund balance and you can make it as much as you like.
No, sir, you need to be able to tell me that.
I need to tell you how much it should be.
You need to tell me how much money is available that can be used. Since you found money, and we had $1.5 million to go back into the fund balance last year.
As I said, Mr. McDaniel, we can amend it to any amount that you like.
Ms. Green, I work for you, work for me, I work for you, so you need to tell me what I can do. I know I can amend the motion now.
Okay, so is there any further discussion?
I just have one question, Madam Chair. I know you stated, Mr. Green, we identified some savings in the budget, exactly where in the budget?
That's a very good question, Ms. Harrison. Actually, the board has done such a good job of reducing legal expenses. And our legal expenses at one time were exceeding $200,000. We continue to budget for legal expenses based on historically what we spend. But right now, we are very much under budget as it is.
Now, Ms.
So
Green,
that amount will be coming from the line item for legal expenses.
now, Ms. Green, you know you have two categories in this budget for legal expense. You got two different line items. And 2 or 3 or 4 years ago, of what we budgeted would not be what we budgeted this year. I guess my point is, so make sure you understand is, okay, if we look at the budget right now for legal expenses, let's look at it, make sure the money is there, and then I can decide if I'm going to amend the motion.
Well, the money is there.
You know, Mr. Green, people follow Jim Jones and look where they ended up at. Can we just look in here and see how much money is in that line item?
As I said, Mr. McDaniel, the money is there.
Then, Mr. Green, Madam Chair, I am going to amend the motion that we give all of the employees who are hourly $250 bonus. All of the hourly employees, $250.
Mr. Frick, would you like to take care of that point of order?
Was that an amendment to the motion? All right,
Would you allow your motion to be amended?
provided it received a second.
I'll second.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
when you say hourly employees, you separate it. I'm for, if that's the case, I'm for everybody, but I'm not for, separate the district's employees. We don't do that. It's for that amendment to say that for everybody.
Madam Chair, we separated them when we said $60. When we know how much money our polar bus drivers make and how much money our custodians and all those folk make.
Okay, we will.
So you got the second on the motion?
Yes, we do. We will go forward on the vote if there's no other discussion on that. Ms. McDaniel's motion is that,
Madam Chair,
Ms. McDaniel's motion is that there would be a $250 stipend given to the hourly employees. There is a motion and a second. Yes,
Let's
ma'am.
be clear, Madam Chair, the 60 stays for everybody else, but I'm asking for the hourly people to be increased to 250.
I'm sorry.
I'd like to make a comment that, when we did the budget, my understanding was we gave extra raises than what we did the previous year. Am I correct?
Yes.
Of course, I didn't get the salary studies, as far as what people were at that I requested, so I can't judge what salaries people are at. I'd like to make that put on the record.
Mr. Jackson.
My question is this a one-time thing?
This is an incentive for the performance on the advanced
So if I understand correctly, $60 will go to everybody except the hourly people, and the hourly people will get $250.
We'll vote on those. That's right. We'll vote on them separately.
Madam Chair, may I speak to that?
I'm in the middle of a sentence that I'd like to finish. We
Please
will
finish.
vote on those separately, but that is the way that I am understanding, is that 250 would go to, per Ms. McDaniel's motion, would go to hourly employees and $60 for, the full-time.
But hourly employees are full-time
That's.
Madam Chair, can I speak to my motion? I can speak myself for my motion. Mr. Reverend Jackson, I made the motion to increase the hourly people to $250 because they do not make that much money. And they are one of the few groups and categories of people who they have to, when they start working, they work. Once you get on that bus, you drive that bus, you can't stop and take care of anything else you want to take care of. If you work in the cafeteria and you cooking or you whatever, that's what you do. Mr. Green recommended $60. I'm not taking away the $60 he recommended that he thought the people above the 200, the ones I'm recommending for the 250. I'm just asking that we increase the hourly to $250. And then what he thought the other ones was deserving will remain as is.
Some of the hourly, Madam Chair, am I correct, some of the hourly ones are not full-time employees?
That could very well be.
Because this was stated initially that full-time employees.
That could be.
I would assume that Mr. McDaniel's motion is referring to full-time employees.
Yes, sir. I didn't change that for him.
So I just want to make one note as you move forward, that we are leaving teachers out of Ms. McDaniel's increase. And so I think that is something that we definitely should take note of. And so Ms. McDaniel feels as if employees are wanting greater than a $60 bonus and wants to take it up to $250. I would simply ask the board to consider our teachers.
You know what? I'm glad you read my mind, Mr. Green, because I intended to put the teachers there. So I'll amend my motion the second time to add the teachers.
To the 250?
So that'll be the teachers and the hourly get the 250, and everyone else will keep the 60.
Can I ask a question? If we're going to amend it for everybody, why don't we make everybody do it? Why are we?
Because I made the motion, and the motion had the second, and I made the motion for the hourly vote.
Okay, well, I'm asking you the question. Why are
Because-
we not talking about everybody else?
Because Ms. Hartley just stated, she asked for the compensation study, we never got it. When the compensation study was done, and the hourly people, some of them complained, that the exempt people got more money going up with the increases they got on that compensation study than what our hourly people did. And I think anybody who's making $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 shouldn't feel bad that we give someone who's making $20,000, $250, and they get $60. That's what Mr. Green recommended was $60.
And then our percentage raises were, go by percentage, so the richer gets richer, the poorer get poorer.
I'm Chair,
Yes.
I think the idea was not necessarily to talk about pay raises today, but was to simply offer a small, albeit small, token of appreciation. And I don't understand why we have to hijack it, and then we've got to go into this diatribe about pay raises. I certainly know hourly employees are working hard and would like to give more money, and I would love to do that. But I know what $60 for district employees is going to cost us because it was in board docs. I don't know what we're talking about right now, and I can't support what you're talking about because I have no idea how much money we're committing to spend at this point.
Hey, Mr. Frick, when I asked Mr. Green to give us the dollars, you thought it was cute that he said they thought it was funny that he didn't have to give us a dollar amount. He knows when he was looking at the budget what was in there, and as I stated,
The budget is available for you, and it shows you how much we spent, and it's there for you
then
to
you
see.
need to look in there and see. You're the one who said that you don't have the dollar amount.
It's in board docs. I know that we have money to do what the original proposal was. What you're asking us to do is commit the money that we have no idea we have, and I cannot do that.
Madam Chair, the motion is on the floor, and Mr. Frick, he said here, and he done talked about how great the staff did, so now he need to put his money to his mouth.
I'll be glad to.
Okay.
We got the
When
money.
we're talking about a difference of $36,000 versus about $150,000. So just to say that would be our rough.
So we have two motions, is that
You
correct?
tried to give us $20,000 a year. Then you can go out and shop to go forward with it. Okay, then so what's the problem?
Because you don't know how much that is. I can't believe you.
If he had the number of, if he had the number of employees, and all you had to do is divide this, multiply the amount, that's your rough estimate. Okay, then put it.
So, just to be clear, Ms. McDaniel's motion is.
Yes, sir.
I guess it's basically to exempt administrators. So it would be all hourly employees, all teachers, it would be everyone except administration.
Now, you have to make that determination, but that's the way it appears. Now, you might have administrators making hourly rates, I don't know. I don't know how you got your people classified.
Yeah, you don't have an administrator being hourly.
Okay, then I guess that's what it means.
Everybody says administrator.
And normally, Mr. Green, I would never go this route, but I do know that we have bus drivers, custodians, maintenance people making $20,000, $25,000 a year. And we have people at the district office making well above $50,000. You know, that's a big gap. To only give 60 to 1 and 250 to the, that's only $190 difference.
Ms. McDaniel, I'm not arguing your motion.
Okay, so I'll restate the motion so that we can properly decide on the direction to vote. The motion, as I understand it, is that the $250 one-time stipend will be given to teachers and hourly employees, and $60 to whoever's left that's still full-time. Am I understanding and stating that motion correctly?
Correct.
Okay, and we have a.
Okay, Madam
we have a
Chair.
motion, and we have a second on that.
And if I can just make one clarification, you know, we've identified some savings in the budget to accommodate what we did initially. I think it should be stated that if we can't find the savings in the budget, then we just have to fund it.
Madam Chair, I will go ahead and amend the motion if Ms. Harrison is okay with it. So that all the employees can have $250. Would that be okay with y'all?
We're not polling the crowd. So your motion has been amended once again to give $250 to all employees in the district rather than $60 to all full-time employees in the district, if there is a second.
All right, then I take it back to where it was. 250 with the 60 is my motion.
250 with the 60, I don't know.
The
what that
original
is.
motion, before I said everybody. Because she seconded the other way. So I put the motion back with the second. Unless you change your
So
mind.
what you said, it's she second it?
Yeah, she said yes.
I thought you said no.
She should have said.
Only 250 for everybody?
Did you second the motion?
Can we clarify the motion?
The motion is now $250 for all full-time employees. Did you second that?
No, I don't want to say no.
Okay, thank you.
But you seconded one with 250 for everybody else and 60 for,
I do.
okay, then we back to that.
So I will restate that one, and I'd like to do it uninterrupted. The way I understand it, $250 for hourly employees and $60 for all full-time employees.
Exempt, full-time, just the 60, the way Mr. Green originally had it.
So I'm going to say it one more time.
Okay.
$250 for hourly employees, $60 for the rest of the full-time employees.
And 250 for teachers.
That didn't get a second.
If I could,
Yes, it did.
it sounds as if Ms. McDaniel wants to say $250 for everyone except administrators. That's what it sounds like.
Other than longer full-time, right?
For all full-time employees except administrators, is what you're saying.
Well, when I put the 250 for anybody else could accept it.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily debating, I'm just saying.
What's the difference? What's the
So
difference?
you want to do it for everyone except administrators, that's what the motion is now.
If the administrators is hourly, they get it. But initially you said $60 for everybody. I said everybody who's considered hourly.
Yeah, we don't
Okay.
have any hours.
Okay then, so then why you gotta keep going over that then?
But I mean, I think
So
there's.
the way I understand it, $250 for all district employees except administrators. That
My motion was $250 for all hourly employees and teachers, and the same $60 that Mr. Green recommended for everybody else, they would get that $60.
administrators. All those in favor signify by raising their right hand. Opposed? Okay, should we go back to the original motion?
Madam Chair, I make my original motion of a $60 gift card to all employees.
Thank you, and I think we've had sufficient discussion. Those in favor of the $60 gift card to all employees that are full-time, signify by raising your right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Opposed? 1, 2. Abstention? 1 abstention. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I would like the record to reflect my abstention vote, although I supported Ms. McDaniel's motion in a second. This is indicative of board responsibility. These are things that should be pre-planned, however sporadic they may be, and budgeted during the beginning of the school year in a budget session. These are just things that we should plan for. And it's just indicative of the type of monetary decisions that we make throughout the course of the entire year.
I could also on the record that, like I stated, that I wanted to be put on the record that I did not get the information I wanted for the budget, which is why I didn't vote on it. As far as the salaries of the people, so you can make a good decision. And also that, it's not anything to do with as far as what I feel like the district has done as far as the employees. I think they've done great.
All right, we'll move on to board minutes.
I think my statement on the record is just that I'm very disappointed that this board could not see the disparity between the salaries that we pay our hourly people and the salary that we pay our administrators in support. Our hourly people, particularly our bus drivers, cafeteria workers, and custodians, and some of our maintenance people, to get a small $250 token, with most of them making less than $25,000 a year. On the record, thank you.
To the board minutes for November, superintendent recommends the approval of those minutes. Can we get a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the minutes of November 18th.
Thank you, Mr. Briggs. Is there a second? Thank you, Pastor Jackson.
Madam Chair, there is a statement in those November minutes that's incomplete.
All right, and what's that location?
You got them printed out?
I've got it pulled up. Okay, time's up, Jeopardy bell went off. Let's move on to operations and finance. We'll come back to the board minutes.
Good evening. In the board package, you have the contract and a timeline to perform renovations on the current Fairfield Career and Technology Center. And the superintendent's recommending approval of the contract to do the renovations for the Career Center.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir, Mr. Miller.
most that we accept the recommendation, approve the renovation.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Hartman. Mr. Miller made a motion, Ms. Hartman seconded. Is there a discussion?
Madam Chair, is that for the old career center?
Yes.
Yes.
When did we decide that was the architect that we were going to use?
That's why we're going to now.
Yeah, but why are we not following our procurement code?
That is within our control, Mr. Gang.
I didn't see an amount anywhere in here. What do you mean it's within our procurement code?
It is. It is. Our procurement code allows us to use a vendor that's currently on site. And a brownstone, I think is the name. It's currently, it's a collaboration between brownstone and boomerang.
Well, you don't have, I didn't see all those names, when I saw it from
Well, boomerang is the only one that is contracted with us in the old career center. So boomerang is currently on our in the district. They're currently doing work at the new career center, and they are familiar with the old career center. We felt that it would be perfectly reasonable just to extend their scope of responsibilities and ask them to do the design, since they are so familiar with the old career center, and just ask them to extend their responsibilities to that as well.
Mr. Green, they are no more familiar with the career center than anybody else. And where is that in our procurement code that, this is the second time that something has been brought to this board, and we're saying that it's in the procurement code, and it's really not, and if it's in there, then it needs to be changed. So can you tell me where that can be found in the
Of course, I
procurement
can't
code?
take away the code, Mr. Chairman, but we've already checked with our legal counsel. Legal counsel is clear that that is within our procurement code.
Yeah, but Mr. Green, the board is the governing body for, and when you bring stuff for us to approve and stuff for us to vote on, then you need to provide us enough information. And it wouldn't be unreasonable for you to tell us where that falls in our procurement code. The information you gave us didn't have a price, so we don't even know how much money we're talking about.
It does have a price, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I didn't see the price.
The price is in there.
Okay, how much was it?
I think the estimated cost of the career center project is $1.3 million. Of course, that is an estimate because we will bid out the project. Basically, the contract is only for the architectural services, which I think will charge us 75% of whatever the cost of the career center would be, which comes to something under $100,000.
Now, Mr. Green, when I looked at that agreement, I didn't see an amount in it, but I saw in it where there was a whole list of items that they said was not included. So you put all those other items in there, then how much money would they really be getting? I just don't understand why we don't just be prudent and be good custodians of the money and contract architectural services out, just like we do for any other building needs that we might have. Madam Chair, there's a reason why that's money.
Yeah, it is, but it's personal.
Okay, thank you.
We have contracted services out, Mr. McDaniel. I guess your question is why are we allowing the firm that's currently in the district to do?
No, my question is why is this board not allowing it to bid it out so we can make sure that we get the best architectural price? Y'all turn people questions around. I know what questions
Any
are
more
going to
questions, comments?
Madam Chair, yes. One of the questions was what the price was, but I thought we were told that Career Center had to have a lot of electrical things done, and that was why we were building a new Career Center.
I'm not familiar.
So we have to do, as far as that's the price is going to be that high, I didn't, like I said, I didn't know that could a condition to do that much work as far as to, anyway. That was Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? We have a motion and a second on the floor to accept or approve the Fairfield Career and Technology Center renovations, and that's the old Career Center. All those in favor of the superintendent's recommendation, please signify by raising of the right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Opposition? 1, 2, 3.
Madam Chair,
Thank you. We'll move on. Yes, ma'am.
please let the record reflect my opposition to the vote is due to the fact that once again, this board is voting on something that was sent to us on Friday. We have not had an opportunity to discuss it as a full board. And we're just making flash decisions.
Madam Chair, I'd like to also reflect on the record. The reason I voted against it was that we need to, I think we still need to take 3 bids like we should anything else, which I've stated in the past also.
All right, Mr. Robinson, ready?
Yes, also in the board package, you have the finance report for the month of November 2014 for your review.
Hearing no questions there, Mr. Downey, ready to go back to the board minutes?
No, ma'am, I had a question on the budget. Mr. Green asked earlier what information that we had asked him for that we didn't get. And I've been asking consistently, this $40-something thousand that we have set up, that's a contingency for the superintendent, that we done changed the name to, and now it's purchase services and something like that. What we spent that $40-something thousand for last year, for the printout from the computer system, and also for this year, what we spent so far. And what Ms. Hartman had asked for was the amount of money that we spent on the Hall of Fame.
Right, we noted that. Okay.
Okay. So,
We'll move on to keeping
Madam Chair, if you can
resources.
answer the question in on the contingency money.
I will.
Oh, okay, I thought that was a request for the future.
Mr. Daniel, we did provide you with information. Apparently, you did not approve of the format in which it was provided. Our legal counsel will contact you and let you know that was in accordance with our forwarding requirements. If the board wants to instruct me to do otherwise, I'll read direction from the board.
Ms. Green, what I asked you for was the information from the computer system. What you gave was an Excel spreadsheet. Now, does that mean I do not trust you? I'm not going to get into that. But if I want to know how much money, because first of all, the board shouldn't be giving you $40-something thousand just to say you can do whatever you want to do with it. And when we ask you what you spend the money on, then you want to give us the information.
The information was provided. Let's move on.
Well,
are you ready for the board minutes? Your amendment there?
I ain't had time to find that on the board.
Okay, let's move on to human resources.
You know, Madam Chair, you sit here and you want to try to rush us through because you done already discussed and decided everything. We as board,
we move on to
we
human
should
resources.
ask questions so we can understand.
We're out of order. We're moving on
No,
to human
that's not out of
resources.
order.
It is out of order, and if I call you out of order, then I'll ask you to be removed.
Oh, no, ma'am, you don't ask somebody to be removed from the board meeting. This is for the board, and I represent just like everybody else up here.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. For your approval this evening, you have 3 items under Human Resources. Item 1 being certified resignations and terminations, which is Exhibit 1A.
Superintendent recommends that the board approve the resignation of the certified staff member.
Madam Chair, make a motion we approve the resignation of certified staff member.
Thank you, Mr. Britt. Thank you, Mr. Miller. Those in favor of the superintendent's recommendation, please signify by raising your
Madam
right
Chair,
hand.
you didn't call for the question.
We're not going to call for the question.
Madam Chair, I have a question as to whether or not
Person
we
there,
have
so
found
we
a
will not
replacement.
discuss it.
Madam Chair, this is an open session question.
We will not
Have we
discuss
found someone to
personnel.
replace this person? That is an open session question.
Yes. The answer is yes. Those in favor of accepting the resignation, signify by raising your right hand. Looks like we have 7. Thank you.
And Madam Chair, I want the record to reflect, I don't know what your problem is tonight or who you're trying to impress.
Please remove
It's totally
Ms.
wrong.
McDaniel.
It's totally
I've had
wrong.
enough.
It's wrong.
We've been out of order, out of order, out of order. Please remove.
Oh, no,
Ms.
you have the
McDaniel, you're
authority.
excused.
No, ma'am, I'm an elected official, you don't have the authority to remove me.
Ms. McDaniel, you've been ruled out of order now twice. You may leave.
No, ma'am, that's not in our rules.
Yes, it is. You may leave.
Nope, not in our rules.
You got to go.
No, that's not in our rules, Ms. McDonald. No, that's not in our rules. That's not in our rules.
Ms. McDaniel, the chair controls the meeting. I've ruled you out of order several times. Now, you must go.
Madam Chair, out of order means that I am asking for something that is against Robert's rules.
And you're out of order. You must leave.
No, ma'am.
Now.
No, I represent a district, and I'm to stay here and represent my district.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Sorry.
Thank you. Those in favor, signify by raising the right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Meeting is adjourned.
Got saved.
No, say you.
No, he got saved. I know my rights, sweetheart.
Don't worry about the meetings.
No. You better take it.